Hello, and welcome back to the Follow Your Spark podcast. I am so excited for today's guest. I feel like a fangirl of the person that is sitting in front of me right now, Kristen Toedtman. I met this incredible human maybe a year or so ago when I found a frame drum workshop that you were hosting, and I got to know you in this musical capacity in that class, as well as a women's drum circle group, as well as your singing workshops. And I just fell in love with everything that you do and the work that you share with the world. And I am so excited to have you on this podcast. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled.
And to share a little bit about who she is in the world, Kristen is a professional singer with over 20 years experience performing, recording, directing choirs, and teaching. She's sung at prestigious venues like Carnegie Hall, Disney Hall, the Hollywood Bowl, Davies Hall with orchestras such as the LA Philharmonic, the LA Master Chorale, and the San Francisco Symphony. Her voice appears on major soundtracks including Wicked, Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, and Frozen. Kristen has led choirs in all kinds of settings from City Hall to centers for people experiencing homelessness. She is a singer-songwriter, and she's performed nationwide, both solo and with a band, on guitar and piano and drums. And you can find her original music on all streaming platforms. And she's currently working on a new record of healing songs, which I cannot wait to hear about, expected in 2026. So again, Kristen, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you so much. This is awesome. I love the podcast. I love the kernel of it. Follow your spark. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful thing to grow around.
Well, speaking of which, the first question I always love to ask people is when you hear that phrase, what, if anything, does that mean to you?
What does it mean? When there's something, I'm not always hungry for a specific thing. I feed my body. I like good food. But when I'm like, oh, you know what I really want right now? It feels so good to know you're hungry for something. I mean, especially in America, you can usually find it or make it. But to be hungry for a specific thing is itself exciting. A spark starts a fire. It can just sit there as a spark, but it's like it is the thing that starts a whole fire. So that's obviously talking about food. But yeah, when there's something that excites me, my mind, and I think probably hunger is wrapped up in our minds as well. But when there's something that I want to follow, there's a certain ease to it. Starting a fire without a spark is not easy. The spark is a generator. It's a focus and it's a generator. And there's a reason we use the light bulb as I have an idea, this spark. The image of it is it's a lot of things.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I love all of those metaphors of it's a hungry for something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like your soul is hungry for something. Your heart is hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something specific. And it might not, maybe it doesn't know the exact flavor of it. Maybe it's just, I want something in this category of something.
Right.
And
Which I think a lot of us struggle with. Oh, what is my spark? What is the thing that lights me up? Or, okay, that thing lights me up, but I can't start a fire with it. What?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay. So, on this train of thought, I'm curious, what were your earliest memories of singing and music? Like you have this incredibly rich, beautiful career now. When did that spark start? That hunger for this?
Yeah, it started very early. And I will say I'm really grateful because I know a lot of people are like, what is my thing? And I tried to step away from music at a certain point in my late 20s because I was having so much stage fright and I had to have a stern talking to with myself. Do you really want to do this? Maybe you shouldn't do this. But when I was very young, my mother on my dad's side, she was a musician, singer, French horn player, pianist, and very strict piano teacher. So she guided me a lot. I wanted to conduct orchestras. And so there's a photo of me on the fireplace mantle conducting her when I was I don't know, 3.5 feet tall. And then my mother's father down in Argentina, I always thought he was a violinist because he used to send me tapes of tango music with violin. Maybe he did play the violin because I swear one of my first violins was his. But there's maybe some mystery around that. Anyway, he would send me music, and he loved the tango. He would never let me say tango. So there was a lot of music around me, and
Mm.
and then those sound really, elite. I also fell in love with Annie, the musical, hard. Had the Annie wig, and much to my older brother's chagrin, I sang Annie all the time.
Excellent.
Yeah. And my parents, loving music, knew to take me
Mm.
to a teacher in first grade and say,
Mm.
she's kind of nuts for music. What do we do? She wants to play the violin. And their church organist said, start her with piano. And we had, here in Baltimore, we had the music teacher at my school, Amy Huggins, was a piano teacher and a just really, really sweetheart of a woman. So she took me under her wing. And yeah, there's a great, I think it's still happening, Children's Chorus of Maryland. I should know if that's still happening. But she took me there, and they had music theory classes and ear training
Mm.
and different levels of choirs. And I just got into, it's very like old fashioned. Haydn was at a music school, like lots of lots of the old white dead composers that we know of started in these like church schools or mute choir schools. So I got to get into that, which was awesome.
Yeah. So it sounds like you were blessed to have exposure to this through your family growing up. And there was something as soon as maybe you heard it or experienced it, that hunger showed up of, oh my gosh, I want more of this.
Yes.
And your family was able to recognize that and luckily able to give you that support and continued exposure and teachers and mentorship. And sounds like it just continued to evolve from there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mhm. Yeah.
Beautiful. Blessed, very blessed with that.
Yes. So I know I have a little bit of a window into your life and career and all these different breadcrumbs you followed throughout that time. And I would love to hear if you could share maybe a couple of those tipping point moments that are top of mind for you. And also, I'm curious of what helped you along the way to trust that path. Because there were so many things when I was reading your bio, you were like, okay, I thought I was going to be here for a month, and that turned into 15 years, and this turned into that, and that turned into this. And what helped you trust that path? Was that always something easy for you? Because I don't think that's something that's easy for everyone.
That's a good question. So the first part of the question was just to go into one of those tipping points. Okay, I'll go to, gosh, yeah, I could go into any of them. I'll go into LA because when I told my parents I was moving to Los Angeles, and they have a big impact on me, they were very against it. And I was not phased. I same with when I moved back to Baltimore, then I started the community chorus here. And I said, listen, you didn't think I should move to LA. Now you're saying I shouldn't leave LA. So just trust me. And then when I left the community
Mhm.
chorus, they balked again. And I said, you're going to have to trust me at some point. At that point, I was 40. I was like, at some point, you're going to
Mhm.
have to trust me. So when I moved to Los Angeles, I did plan to go there for the length of one production, a play production, a play by Wilhelm Reich, which is a musical, but he doesn't write the music. He's dead now, but he didn't write the music. And so each production has different music for it. And sorry, not by Wilhelm Reich, by Robert Anton Wilson about Wilhelm Reich. That makes much more sense. And I got to work with, or we got the interest of, and then they made a documentary or they made a DVD of the performance of it. Some guys that were like late in Robert Anton Wilson's life, his caretakers, and, took care of, I think, helping to disseminate some of his work. So it was really cool, like close to Robert Anton Wilson. Actually, we did meet him. It was right before he died. And I went out to write the music. My friend was directing it. He said, do you want to come out and write the music for this play? And I had been going for a Fulbright. I was trying to get a Fulbright down in Argentina, and I didn't get it. I had lined up like a tango teacher I was hoping to study with while I was down there, and I wanted to live down there. So I didn't get it, and I was a little bit floating and dating this friend of mine. So we were playing music. I had just started writing songs. Like I had literally maybe written two because I had gone through a breakup. They just came out. So I don't know that I would have called myself a songwriter yet, but he said, do you want to write the music for this play? And I was like, yeah. Yeah, Joni Mitchell's from LA. She's not, obviously, she's Canadian, but the Laurel Canyon lore. I was like, yeah, I want to go there. So we went and I wrote, it was really cool to write music for words that were already existing.
Mm,
And got a band together, which was when I met my good friend Al, with whom I still work. We're recording my album now, and he's just an ace in the hole to have with you on any musical project. So I had this, band that he helped put together, and the play was like wild and zany. It's like a circus in hell. It's really wild in this tiny little theater in Los Angeles. And there's a really great theater scene in LA. Of course, we know it for film and TV, but there's just like any little extra space in a room. They're like, let's make a theater. So this was the Son of Semele Ensemble was the name of the group. And during the course of that 3 months, I started meeting people, a lot of them through beach volleyball. There was this ragtag group of volleyball players down in Manhattan Beach, which is like the volleyball pro. And every Sunday for 3 years, it was awesome. You'd go and scan the beach and you'd see like pro musicians. And like there'd be a guitar out, bandanas, too many people on the court. I was like, yeah, that's my crew. And several of them were musicians.
mm,
Also, they were like a built-in crowd. Oh, you're
mm,
playing at room 5, you're playing at Hotel Cafe? What night? And then, like,
mm,
the hardest thing is to get people out. So,
mm,
and the thing about LA, everything grows there. Palm trees aren't native. There's like few natives there, but people want to know what you're doing. Oh, you play songs? Let me hear it. They were just very much, let me hear your song. Maybe we can help each other. And so
mm,
it was a very welcoming environment. So I just started writing songs, like having to write for that musical or for that play to make it a musical was just like sharpening the knife. And so I
mhm.
started writing and playing in venues. And how did I trust that? I really was able to make money temping when I got out there. I'm not
And music?
temping. I'm a great secretary. I was doing a day job working at a lawyer's office, which was great because my car got totaled shortly after
Mm,
moving there, and they got me my next I had 2 cars get totaled while I was out there, come to think of it. Huh. Apparently that's
interesting.
when my first car got totaled right outside a show. I remember where the 2 different cars got totaled. I don't remember which was first now. But yeah, I worked for these lawyers and they helped me get each of my next 2 cars.
Wow.
So yeah, things just were lining up well, and I don't think my trust was tested. I think I was just like, "That's what I'm doing. I'm
Mhm.
just putting it together." And I worked office jobs for a while until I realized I didn't need an office job anymore.
Mm. So many interesting things in that story that I could ask you about. And when you talked about, it sounds like you and your parents maybe were really close. And at first they were like, why are you going to LA? Again, you said your trust wasn't tested, and other people could have reacted so differently to so many things in your story. So again, I want to ask you again, did you always feel this like inner trust of, okay, I want to go to LA. Doesn't matter what my parents say, doesn't matter what any of these other people say. I can trust this inner knowing. I'm going to follow this. Were you always like that?
It's so interesting because I have doubts like any other person, but there was no doubt that I mean, I didn't think I'm going to be famous. I had a very seminal moment before I went to LA. I was playing music with a friend who was my professor at Peabody in early music. So he plays a variety of early instruments, lute, vihuela, cittern. These are old plucked instruments. And we formed a duo together and we were playing around the East Coast a bit. And there's so much music to play in the world, other people's music, which was in classical music, you're mostly playing other people's music. And there was a point we were sitting looking through stacks of music and I'm like, yeah, sure, that's nice, that's nice, that's nice. And he said, let's decide to only do what we love, which is a
Mm,
really important no. So here we are talking about spark. But the no was super informative to me. I'm only going to do what I love. And there was one, and we haven't, this part of my LA story was before I started singing classical. I was like playing the clubs and drinking and staying up late and not ready to like keep my classical voice, my money making voice in shape. So the first maybe 2 years, or it might have been less than that, before I auditioned to sing in the LA Master Chorale and get work like that. So later on, someone had asked me to sing in this concert with a conductor and small ensemble singers I love singing with. But the experience was awful. The leadership was awful. Really demeaning, aggressive, very non-musical. And within the year, they asked me, my friend and colleague asked me to sing on it again. And I was like, sure, I need a job. And I immediately regretted it and reminded myself of that no. No, I'm not going to sing on something I don't love. It's not worth it. So that barometer was really helpful for me. And I think that when I moved to LA, even though it was, like songwriting and really just following, I can get a day job as long as it's not 40 hours a week, because I discovered 40 hours a week didn't have energy for music. I didn't have energy for singing. So I was able to show up on a job 3 days a week, be really good at it, have no worry about the politics of the job. Because in fact, the lawyer's office was a partnership that was dissolving. And needed a neutral person, which I'm a great neutral person. I liked both of them. They were a handful, each of them. And one came with his wife and his son. So it was like a lot. But yeah, I was able to just, okay, I can figure this out. I can do as much as I need to make money, eat well, have a tiny apartment, and do what I want to do. And so that I trusted.
Yeah. You trusted your ability to get your needs met and
Yeah.
have that, and then also have time for what you loved.
Right. And I actually actively thought about the fact, I was like, yeah, I'm proud of the fact that I can make space for what I want to do. And if the rest of my life is going to be a part-time job that fuels, like I'm playing at bars, yeah, I'm making a little money, I'm getting free drinks. I'm not making money to pay rent, and I would have an occasional job here and there. I was okay with that. If it was going to be like that, I was okay with that. That was an integrity for me. It wasn't until later that I started making money in my living with music, which is awesome. And also started from the groundwork up with not if I don't love it, not if I don't love and respect the people I'm working with, not if I'm putting my words on something I don't believe in, and not if it feels bad.
Yeah. Why were you okay with that lifestyle of, okay, I'm going to work part time, I'm going to use this to fuel my basic needs, and I'm going to be exploring music, even if that doesn't pay the bills? And yeah, why were you okay with that? And I'm asking this for a specific reason, so I would love to hear.
Okay. Well, there's no stress. I mean, I didn't have to make money with music. I didn't have to monetize my art. And
Yeah.
I am here to tell, especially Baltimore, a lot of people are like, I'm not making money with art. It's okay to make money with art. Yeah. Like it is highly valuable at this time. But for me, I was okay with I was using a skill that I have, which is diplomacy, fast typer, very organized. Love it. And I love organizing other people's lives. Cool. So I was using a skill that I had to, it's like I can chop wood and make a fire and kill an animal and feed myself. It was like that, only obviously less bloody, less sweat and blood.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I'm asking questions about this because I feel like oftentimes for people who have some big dream, maybe they want to be an entrepreneur, or maybe they want to, have a lifestyle that's fueled by their passions, they might see it as a failure or as like an obstacle or not useful to go through that in between phase that you just described of knowing of, okay, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to make money off of my music. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to build this into my career. And I know my soul is hungry for this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to make space for it and be intentional with how I spend my time. And I know 40 hours a week is too much. for me to have energy for these other things. So I'm going to find something that I'm good at, that doesn't cause a lot of stress, that I can just show up and not have to go home and think about work at the end of the day, and just use the rest of my time and energy for this other thing, and not put pressure on that like new baby of a dream that it has to support me and it has to be everything, because that's a lot of pressure to put on something that's in its infancy stages. So I love that, hearing from you, that was an integrity for me. That was okay for me. I didn't have judgment over that phase. And every time you followed what you were hungry for, it continued to build organically, not from a place of pressure or it has to, but from a place of I'm following what lights me up, brings me joy, is a yes for me.
Yes, exactly. And
Mhm.
I didn't see it as, okay, well, this is a phase I'm okay with to get to somewhere else. I was
Mm,
okay with it. I was
yeah.
like, this, I'm good at this. I'm good at creating a life where I have what I need and I can show up and be a blessing at this office. And just like you said, not think about it when I walk out
Yeah.
the door, which was amazing. I love, 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 love the music and philosophy of Bill Withers. Lean on Me, just the two of us. There's a great movie called Just Bill, Still Bill, about him that was made before he died. And he says, he tells his kids, you're going to get to a certain point. You're going to get to all right. On the way to amazing, you're going to get to all right. And when you get to all right, you need to take a look around and make sure you're okay with all right, because that may be as far as you're going to get.
Mm.
You need to be all right with all right. And I
Hmm.
loved that. I was like, yeah, that's exactly right.
Mm, interesting. And one thing that I think about often, and it has kind of evolved over the years, especially as a coach and someone who's helping people clarify their goals and make progress towards their goals, this balance between having desires and knowing what you're hungry for and not being so attached to them that you can't be happy with all right. You can't be happy with now. It's like you said, of like you weren't going through this phase in order to get there.
Mhm,
And it's like how to hold the vision
mhm,
and not be so attached to the vision or things working out a particular way.
mhm.
And I've noticed this trend with a lot of people, and it's interesting to see kind of like who has leaned into this and who hasn't, of when they don't have this like destination that they have to get to,
Yeah.
what happens. And oftentimes I hear from what you're saying of, oh, I didn't feel like my trust was tested because I wasn't attached to things happening a certain way. And you were able to kind of be in that flow state and notice what's a yes, what's a no. And you had joy and satisfaction and fulfillment now
Mhm.
instead of being attached to it needing to come at a later date when you've manifested and created all of these things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, did I ever, I mean, I wanted my music to go far. I was writing, my singer-songwriter stuff. I really would love if it was on a TV show and thousands of people I don't know were listening to it, but I wasn't like, I love my life. I just was having a really good time too. It's like,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome, but I was also realistic. You got to know the right people. You've got to be, I don't know, at the right place at the right time, whatever. I can keep trying, but I also wasn't going to not enjoy what I was doing for that.
Yeah. It's fascinating just to notice, like, what goes on in the mind and
Yes.
what happens in different instances. So I just love hearing about all of that. And one thing that I'm curious about, speaking of just manifestation in general, I know you talked about singing as a manifestation technology. And I would love to hear if you can describe what that means.
Well, it's ancient. Like we talk about spelling words, our words are spells. Our singing is said to be praying twice. If we speak something out loud, we think a thing, we speak a thing, we create a thing. It goes,
Mhm.
we can jump over speaking. We can like want to build a table and we don't have to say, I'm going to build a table today. But speaking it is very powerful. Uh,
Mhm.
we could do stuff without language. We could picture a table and not know that it's called a table and build a table, I suppose. But I just, yeah, I'm not the first person to think this, but I do feel it. It's if I say something I don't believe, I have to rescind it in a way. If someone else has heard me, I need to say, by the way, I don't mean that. Like
Hmm.
many years ago, you're like back when I was going to more like lots of parties and meeting people, and then you get excited and you talk with a person about an idea, and especially LA is like such an ideas town, and people are like, oh, let's do this thing. There was a point over a decade ago I realized I would have to say out loud, by the way, I have other projects I'm working on and I'm not actually going to do this one. I just want to be clear with you. So not throwing out lots of
Yes.
yes, I'm gonna, yes, I'm gonna, yes, I'm gonna's, because it just takes away the potency of I'm going to create this thing. This is what
Mm.
is important to me. And I say that it's a tool that I have in my throat, as we all do. And I want to continue to be mindful with that. I mean, there's still things I want to create that I haven't created. There are things I want to recreate. And so I'm looking at what is the thing I want to speak out loud and say I'm going to do.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. And I just see this like trail of energy that is connected with our words. And like you said, when you speak out loud, I have this idea, I want to do this. That's, giving energy to that. And if that's not something that you want to give energy to, like reeling that back in and
Mhm.
making sure that you don't have these kind of like energetic trails all out in the world and really collecting the energy internally as well as being intentional with what you direct your energy towards and knowing that what we speak out loud has power.
Because also other people hear it, but we hear it. We hear it too, just like
Yes.
the spark, it can fold in on itself and like
Yes.
what embers are going? What fires are you starting?
Yes. I love it. And before any podcast or client call or anything else, I always pull oracle cards and I don't always read them or share them. And they're very relevant to what we're talking about right now. Do you want to hear what they
Yes,
are?
I certainly do.
Okay. One of them says words. My words are creative and powerful. I choose words today that will support my highest good and that of everyone I encounter. So it's, yeah, just that
And
reminder.
it's such a great reminder. I mean,
Mhm.
you brought it up saying you heard it from me, and I'm like, oh yeah, great reminder. That's a great reminder. Just like it's a challenge to yourself too. Today, I'm going to say things to people out loud to myself. I'm going to be very mindful of my words and deliberate, and it makes a
Mhm.
big difference.
Yeah. And the other card I pulled is Law of Attraction. And it says, just like the law of gravity, I can trust and know that the law of attraction is working for my highest good. Today, I focus on attracting all of what I'd like to experience in my life. Anything that is not that, I set aside. So it's like the same of knowing that our words are attractors.
Hmm.
So if whether we're thinking them or whether we're speaking them, or like you said, singing them, and
Hmm.
speaking that prayer twice,
Hmm.
amplifying it with that power,
Hmm.
that carries its energetic vibration that attracts things to us either in alignment with that or, not depending on what we're speaking.
Yes,
It's so incredible.
100%.
And I remember the first like singing circle that I experienced with you here in Baltimore, just this feeling of like, we all, I'm sure, did this. Like, this is so ancestral and so connected and so powerful. And I just felt this like deep, immediate resonance. And I wonder how many people don't sing or like never sing. Yeah, I'm curious if there's anything that you want to share of people that you've worked with that maybe are just like reconnecting with this and what the biggest impact singing has had, especially for people who, maybe are just remembering this power.
Yeah, I think, well, just more generally, I think you're right. This singing and singing together and singing in a circle is ancient. And we are in our society have this, oh, well, I'm not a singer. A lot of people tell me I'm not a singer. And it didn't used to be that way. I'm not a walker. Yeah, I walk. Like you have a voice, we all have, and singing is a coordination between your ears and your breath and your vocal box, your vocal mechanism. So I think what happens is a lot of people's ear to voice coordination is not as strong as it Could be, and a lot of
Mm,
that is in our own self-talk. Well, I can't
mm,
because I don't know about most babies, I've not studied this, but a lot of babies can kind of echo back. They
mm,
echo, they mirror, and they echo. That's how children learn. That's how we learn, is echoing. But as adults, you talk to an adult who wants to learn a language, they're like, "Oh, no, I can't."
mm,
Just start speaking, make mistakes.
mm,
Okay, but echo what you hear, because our ears are really strong. So
mm,
I hear a lot of people saying that they're not singers, and yeah, divorced from that part of themselves that they have. And it's such a beautiful way to commune with other people by singing. And I think, I'm not a sociologist, but I feel like there's a little something here, back to what we were saying about, well, I want to be, I want something else, and having a day job means I'm a failure. I think that there's this I want to be a star thing,
mm,
where it's, yeah, but between that is just being a singer,
mm,
expressing who you are with your voice
mm,
is such a gift to yourself and to those around you. I mean,
mhm,
if yeah, I think that there's a disconnect where we're like, I want to be a star, I'm not a singer because I'm not that star singer. It's just
mm,
sing.
mm.
You don't have to be like the Olympic speed walker to be a walker. Just
Yeah.
walk and get your groceries, walk
Yeah.
over here and shake my hand.
Yes. I have to tell you, I'm like almost crying right now because I'm about to go to a 2-week drum pilgrimage in Italy. Where we'll be singing and chanting with Alessandro Belloni.
Yes! Oh, I'm so happy to hear this. Oh my god.
And you've been a big catalyst on my journey. Like, you were the first person that before I had any frame drums myself, I took that workshop, and just experiencing singing with you and the power of it ignited something for me.
Yes,
And I am just, yeah, so moved by the power of this and how healing it is, and what I experienced in those like communal singing workshops with you. And I cannot wait to spend 2 weeks doing this. And I just know the power of it to be transformational. And I have no intention of what anything that's going to come from this trip after that. I just know my soul is so famished like for this.
that
So
ugh,
just thank you again for sharing your light with the world.
that is so awesome. I want there to be an intention that, please, I want to get together with you afterwards and hear everything.
Yes.
When is it?
The last 2 weeks of June.
Oh my gosh, this is so when I don't think it was you that sent me the article about her. Bologna, is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was my friend Allie's sister Meg who was also at that first
Yep.
workshop, and I was like, "Oh my god,
Yes,
Gina,
we talked about
you're
her.
Italian." Like, I feel like
Yeah,
this is your heritage.
it is. Yeah, and I met her in person for the first time last September. I went to New Jersey for a workshop with her and was just surrounded by like my people, all these Italian people who were like reconnecting with their heritage, and I was just like, my heart, like these are my people, and I cannot wait to be immersed in this and be singing in Italian, and we're going to be with all of these Black Madonna sites over the summer solstice. And it's just,
Wow.
I just cannot wait.
Wow.
So
Wow,
thank
and will
you.
it be with she plays like a type of tambourine?
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah. Hold on. I'm going to show you.
okay. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
So
Oh
it's
my
these
god.
beautiful drums that are just like, yeah. And it's drumming is so interesting. It's something that has
She's not quiet.
has called to my soul forever. So I'm just so excited.
Yeah.
And I feel like we could go off on tangents. Pausing this interview for a moment to ask, as you're listening to this episode, what ahas are showing up for you in your life? What spark, dream, or vision are you feeling called to pursue? As you heard in this episode, something incredible happens when we give ourselves permission and space to pursue what truly lights us up. I believe when we do that, that's when we have the most positive impact on ourselves
and everyone around us. If you are ready to believe in yourself and your dreams and courageously pursue them, coaching can help. So often, what's been holding you back is different than you think. And it doesn't matter if you've tried before and failed. That is no indication of what you are capable of. If you're ready to discover how to overcome your challenges and expand into what's truly possible for you, let's talk. I offer free clarity calls where we'll explore what you'd really want to pursue if you believed anything were possible, and you'll walk away knowing exactly what it would take to get there. Something incredible happens when you believe you're capable. You start taking steps towards your dreams instead of waiting until you're ready. This call alone has the power to change your life. If you're ready to take that next step, go to GinaCasbarra.com/clarity call to book a time to chat today. No more waiting. It's time to live your most authentic, inspired, passionate life. I can't wait to connect and hear about what that looks like for you. Now, let's get back to the interview, and I'll talk to you soon.
And to kind of bring it back here,
Mhm.
I would love if, and I know I sprung this on you like last night maybe, if we could do a little exercise or something that people might be able to get a taste of. I know you do these like Tuesday tune-ups and these in-person sessions, like anything that's coming to mind right now. I have no idea how it will be on these microphones or anything else, but just to give people a taste of what they might experience in workshops with you.
Yeah, there's always so many different directions I can go in, and I love to nerd out on technique a little bit. But one of the things, so we could sing a song, we could do lots of big things, but I love to bring it down to the one of my favorite exercises is called an onset exercise. So the onset is the beginning of sound. And not surprisingly, the beginning of sound affects the rest of your tone. So much like the meditation that you led me in before we started, which I don't think the other folks heard, but so similarly, whenever I start my Tuesday tune-ups, we start with alignment similar as you had. So we think about sending our tailbone, think about sending our root, like a tap root down between our hips. So I think we're both sitting. It works also if you're standing. So if we're sitting, our sit bones are like our new legs. So they're strong and our crown is reaching up. And then also, it's important to give some notice to our sternum, which is here. If you have a button down shirt, it's like the second or third button. If you lower your sternum, your jaw usually goes out like this. So think about lifting not just your crown, but also your sternum, not too high, not like bodybuilder from the 1920s, but just high enough that it's like you're receiving light on your heart. And so let that slouch down and then lift it up again. So it's a gentle lift. And you'll notice that you're allowed, like more air is allowed to come into your lungs. So we want support from our lower body as we're sitting. That's like our sit bones, so that our upper body is free to move. We really want this freedom of, I'm going to say this word because it's one of my favorite words, the thoracic cavity. It's like Jurassic. That's what this upper rib cage area is. So we want this to be free. So never tight up here. And our belly is also free. So the great news is you're breathing expertly already, right? We've been breathing for this whole interview. You haven't run out of breath in any of your questions. We are able to masterfully speak a whole phrase without running out of air. Sometimes when we get to singing, we're like, oh, we kind of freak out and think that we need to control. We think, okay, breath control, that's a thing. Mm-hmm. But breath control is when we start controlling in our throat and in our vocal cords, and we don't want to control. The beautiful thing about singing is it's more about letting go of control. We want breath support, and breath support comes from a certain type of compression of air. So let's breathe in. We're going to have our lips together and our teeth separate. So our jaws relax, but our lips are together. Breathing in through your nose. And you can let it out. So as you breathe in through your nose, we're just going to bring some breath awareness. Feel it enter through your sinuses, which are behind your eyebrows and behind your cheeks. And feel it exit through them as well. So continue to do that. And I'll just speak about resonance. When I'm speaking or singing with resonance in my head, maybe you can hear, whether this microphone is good enough, that I'm speaking with a lot of head resonance. That's because I'm allowing the air to pass through here. We like to have, for a lot of types of singing, a mixed blend of not just head, but also chest resonance. So a lot of us will speak just in chest down here and not really let it come up into our head. So by breathing in through our nose and feeling it pass through these upper sinuses is a nice way to remind ourselves what it feels like to breathe into our sinuses. And so this time you'll breathe in through your nose and out your mouth. Just let the air fall out. And you'll notice when you open your mouth, it comes out very fast. There's no opposition. There's no sound. It's silent. So the air is just going to exit. Right? So that's sort of the nervous system recipe for taking, you want to have like longer exhales. So sometimes we'll create some sound, create some friction. So for our purposes, let's use an S to put a little bit of friction on the air. So we're going to breathe in through our nose and let it out on a. Yeah, so I think of that as like a leaking air mattress. It's just coming out. Do that one more time. Now we're going to try and find the leak. So you're going to give a little bit of pressure down here to push the air out. So we don't want to have how lazy can you be in making that S? How, start to notice what happens. How do you make an S? It's about the friction between your tongue and your teeth and the top of your mouth. You can even start to feel, where is that? Get curious about, and one of my main intentions for the tune-up is planting seeds of awareness and curiosity. How do I make those consonants? How do I make those vowels? And how efficiently or lazily can I do it? Which is to say, with as little tension as possible. So if there's not enough tension, the S sounds like sort of a mix of sh and f. So how much tension do I need to make a Okay, so these like Zoom, etc., are great because you can see your reflection. See if you can not lift your shoulders when you breathe and let the expansion come wide in your ribs and low in your belly when you breathe in. Excellent. So now we're going to just give a pulse it with a good amount of compression in your belly. So I want you to notice if muscles in your throat, it sounds like there's a happening. So an inhale is your best teacher. On your inhale, your throat is relaxed. It's a passive corridor, and we want it to stay that way on the exhale. So what happens for me when I do that is my belly pulses. How's your throat feeling for that?
I think a little bit more relaxed.
It sounds more open on both the in and the out. Yeah, exactly. So now we're just going to jump to these onset exercises. And the onset exercise, our voice is kind of mysterious, right? Because it's not like a clarinet where you can say, make sure you're covering the holes, make sure these are the fingers to use. It's hidden. Our voice is hidden. And so this exercise I love because it's like as specific as you can get. So we're going to start so breath comes through and our vocal cords, these are our vocal cords. They're like this, but I'm going to hold it like this. When air moves through two movable membranes, like think of your shower curtain. When the water turns on, the shower curtain comes in. So the wall doesn't move, but the shower curtain moves in. So your vocal cords are both movable. And when air blows through them, they will come together and they start to vibrate. Now we tend to control and muscle them together by pulling we've got these arytenoid and carotenoid, these little bones. But we want to allow the air to do the work. That's what breath support is. So if I just make an H sound, that's the sound of the friction moving through my throat with tension. And then when I start to phonate or vibrate, we start it with H. And so what's happening is a little pressure. So try not to use your chest. Try not to lift your chest when you breathe in. And you can watch your image. So listen to the difference between right? There's like a pressure and I'm going to put H on the beginning and the end. Try that.
Me?
Yeah.
Me too. Okay.
There you go. Yeah. So the exercise is we're going to sing a tone on ah 9 times. It's going to go 4 of it. We're going to start with H. And what we're doing is we're training our vocal cords to stay open. Ha, 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 ha. And then we're going to imagine the H. Ha, 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 ha. And the goal is to have this imagined H, which is to say our vocal cords are just hanging out, relaxed, as if they were making an H sound, and then coming together. What happens, and the reason for repetition is to just have more opportunity for success. A lot of times we'll have which is a glottal stop where we have pressure built up. They're together. That sound is our vocal cords together and a subglottal pressure, a pressure of air between them. Breathy sound is they're apart. We want the Goldilocks in the middle. So that's what the imagined H is. Okay, so we'll go. I'll demonstrate and then we can try it together. So I'll go 4 with H, 4 with imagined H, and then one last one just held on that imagined H. So it'll go ha, 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 ha. Like that. Ready to try?
Sure.
There we go.
Why not?
4 with an H. Here we go. Ha, 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 H. Ha, 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 ha. So as you would go and practice it, like the very last one was a had that glottal stop. So this is the very first time you've done it, right? So you'll find and start to hear and start to feel, oh, that one was glottal. That was stopped. That was H. And you just, maybe one time you get one that's right. The balanced, it's called a balanced onset.
Mm-hmm.
You get
Oh my
2,
gosh.
and then you get 1, so it's just something that you can grow with and actually feel what's happening, where a lot of us start, and that it affects the tone. I'm not saying it's a bad tone. It will tire you out if you're always singing that way, or breathy tone. But balanced, then you can go and go and go and go and go and go.
Oh my God, so fascinating.
Right.
And what is coming up for me right now is thinking about when people, like, say someone's interested in singing and maybe they're listening to this and they're thinking like, wait, like that doesn't sound fun, or that doesn't sound like I'm not singing a song. I'm like practicing this skill. And I could see sometimes people kind of getting turned off. And I see this in multiple different capacities. Like I've been dancing this dance called Zouk for the past 6 months, and seeing even in my own learning journey, especially when you're doing something for the very first time and you're like, this is clunky, this is hard. Like you see other people, you hear your beautiful voice, or like other people who've been training or practicing something for a very long time. And again, kind of going back to wanting to be further along or attached to getting somewhere. I'm curious what you would say to those people, maybe in those moments who are like wanting to get into singing, but maybe feeling held back because they're like, wait, this isn't like super fun. I'm not like a master singer on day one. What's coming up for you when you hear that?
Well, I always make sure that we sing. Sometimes I usually try to start with singing, call and response stuff, and then peppering in things like this. And then, okay, let's sing a song. And oh, here's an opportunity here's a phrase that starts without a consonant, that starts, yeah, ooh. If it starts with a vowel, then that's an opportunity to work on that. But mostly in group singing, I might do a little bit of that. But if someone comes to me for a lesson, I ask them what they're looking for. What's getting in your way? Is anything getting in your way? Because if you have something you really need to say, generally you find the voice to say it. But there will be times, as there was in my life as a professional, I needed to go back. I needed to start again with a teacher in my 30s, which honestly, and I have a master's degree in singing performance, it was in my mid 30s that I learned how to sing. But I was, you can get by, you can do a lot without knowing technique. At a certain point, technique is to get out of your own way. Technique is to let it come through. And so I understand a lot of people just want to sing. If I'm leading singers and trying to put a choir together, then I am going to get into some of that nitty gritty. Deal with it. But I always mix it in. I always make it fun and or don't make it last too long.
Yeah, 1000%. And that's definitely something I've experienced in workshops with you, of the balance between, okay, we're just going to sing and have fun and jump in and not get bogged down in all the technical. And then you have woven in that in this really beautiful way. So I just love your teaching technique. And I remember, even, I'm not a trained singer by any means, but and I can't describe even what you're doing, but there's ways that you're even just like either counting or moving your hands that is, and maybe it's not for everyone, but I feel like I'm intuitively picking up on, or just being able to interpret what you're leading, which again just feels super fun. And okay, this must be in my blood somewhere, my DNA. I'm sure it is in all of us in some capacity. But yeah, it was just such a interesting thing to experience, like singing with a group and your guidance and your facilitation. So I'm obsessed. And can you tell people where they can experience things with you?
Well, online, you can find me on Zoom. We can do private sessions, and I'm doing a Tuesday tune-up. It's on Tuesdays from 4 to 5 on the East Coast. So you'll have to figure out your own time zone for that. But it's a drop-in hour-long thing. It's just a $10, which you sign up for free, but then $10 is what can get you in the door. So I want everyone to be able to come. I'm doing a workshop downtown Baltimore in 2 weekends. So I don't know when this is going to air actually, but second weekend of May at Lexington Market, I'm doing a pop-up choir. The BMA, the Baltimore Museum of Art, does this like collaboration there. They've got this beautiful space. So I'm doing that around the time you'll be in Italy, around the summer solstice. I'm doing a workshop. It's called Riverworks, I think. Our friend Emma coordinates the art there. It's in Western Maryland. You'll have to look at my Instagram, KTettles on Instagram, or my website, which is my name, KristenToedtman.com. And then I also am out in Los Angeles performing in larger scale works. But I'm not tuned into the wellness community in LA. Obviously, there's a giant one. But yeah, if there are enough people that wanted to have some singing there, I have some places I could set that up. So you can find me on my website. My music is streaming on Spotify, and I have a YouTube and a SoundCloud and maybe a Bandcamp. And should I do Patreon? Probably. I might start a Patreon.
I love it. Well, we will get all of that information and put it in the show notes. I'm definitely intrigued about the thing happening in May. Do you have any other workshops at Tribe or anything in Baltimore coming up?
Nope. Just that one at the Lexington Market and west of Baltimore in Maryland.
Beautiful.
June 20th.
Okay, well, we'll put all the details for that in the show notes. So thank you for sharing all of those incredible ways that people can get involved with you. And as we're nearing the end of this conversation here, is there anything else I didn't ask you about that you want to talk about? I know your recording project is coming up. Anything else on your mind or heart right now that you feel inspired to share?
I guess I would say that what is online, what's streaming, while I love it very much, the last record that's up there, Limbo, was when I was kind of between, we put it out on vinyl. One side is Baltimore, which I produced with my now fiance, and, fell in love with it. He was a great friend anyway, but there was a spark there, let's say. And the other side was Los Angeles. And he likes to joke that he helped me produce a record of songs about other men.
Great.
But when I started singing out here in different like ceremonial settings, I found a whole new, the singing is praying twice. I found a real inspiration for singing, and the songs I have written since then are much more reminders I needed to hear, like spirit fueled and spirit guiding reminders. And so those are being recorded now, are not yet available. You can find like snippets of them on my Instagram and SoundCloud, but I'm giving them a really nice treatment. We're taking our time. But I'm hoping to like put a little flame under that spark and get that out into the world sooner than later. But as I said to you, probably 2026.
Oh my gosh, can't wait to hear it.
Me
It sounds incredible. I love it. Well, if there was one thing that you wanted people to remember or really take away from this conversation, what would you hope that to be?
Yeah, I guess it's a combination of what we were talking about. It's okay to do what you need to do, live your life in integrity. Maybe you're making your money with something. I wouldn't want it to be something you hate, but it's making you money. Find something that gets you the right resources to be able to live in integrity and share what you do. And that combined with the fact that your voice and your singing, you who are listening, not you, famous singers, but also you, because I have a lot of singing colleagues who use their voices as tools, but it might be separated from, this like spirit, which is breath. But so on the way to being a star, you are a star. You are just expressing as you are. And I just hope that I remember that and that you remember that.
I love it. Such a powerful reminder. And it just brings back to the enjoying the moment, enjoying yourself, living in alignment with what matters to you, knowing that you can tap into those passions, the things you're hungry for, no matter what phase of your journey you're at, that's always available in some capacity. And I'm also just hearing start now, start where you are, and letting that be enough, like being all right with being all right.
Absolutely.
So beautiful. Such a powerful reminder. The last question I love to ask people, because for me, so much of following your spark is just like following whatever sparks curiosity, interest, inspiration, could be totally random, could make zero sense. Is there anything like that right now that you've been giving yourself time and space to follow that's, yeah, adding something to your life in this moment?
Can you ask that question again?
Yeah. So for me, following your spark is about not needing to know where something is going to go, but just like following those sparks of whatever you're hungry for. And oftentimes I find it can be super random, like beach volleyball led you to, finding your people in LA, whatever it is. So is there anything, maybe random, maybe not, that you've been giving yourself permission or space to follow right now that's adding something to your life? And I again ask this because I find so often people don't give themselves the space to follow that. Or if they're like, I want to bake sourdough, but I don't have time for it, so I'm just not going to do it. Whatever it is, it doesn't make sense. So no. So yeah, is there anything that's just been a yes for you recently that you're following?
Yeah, I'm a yes. My partner, Chris, you're always a yes. I am a yes a lot. Pumphrey and I'm pointing that way because that's where our home is. We love to play music together, and we are starting to we want to like get it out there and make a show and this and that. And we are really taking our time with it and going with just, okay, this feels good. Today we're going to start singing Icaros. And then we're going to play this one song that we've been both intrigued by. And rather than put the whole set together, we're going to dig into this one song. And in it, we're going to work on the rhythm, and we're going to work on just the subtle differences of arrangement of how many times we repeat this section, or when does the shaker start and stop. So we've been going really slowly with that. And that feels like that is along the lines of what you're asking.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. So it sounds like there's this call to make music together, to play together, and it's also not a rush.
Right.
It's what can we explore today? What feels good in this moment? And again, just letting that organically unfold.
Yeah.
Fun. Well, I'm excited to see whenever you're ready to share all of that with the world. So, oh my gosh, thank you so much. What a delight to have this conversation, and I cannot wait to share it.
Oh, thank you so much. This was truly a delight. Thanks, Gina.
My pleasure.